Ready, Mom?
Yeah, I started counting down.
Okay. Gonna start in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to tonight's session of Latino Perspective. My name is Reynaldo Cervantes, and I'm the producer and the host of this program. Tonight, we are going to be discussing uh, a monumental event that took place Tuesday night in the Virginia primary election. It's equivalent to David's when he slew Goliath. It's like a volcano going up. It's a shot heard around the world when this little unknown person knocked off the number two Republican person in the party. His name is Congressman Eric Cantor. And it is so mind-boggling that it has all of us, individuals like myself, who trying to understand politics and have really no business talking about politics, but wondering exactly what happened, why it happened, and what does it portend for the future. And I have a couple of things that were posted on the web that I'd like to read to you so we can get this thing started. Uh, Eric Cantor, stunning loss to his Tea Party challenger, predictably enough has unleashed a din of commentary to the effect that immigration reform is now really, really, really dead. Many of the same folks saying this told us with absolute certainty that it was dead months ago. But still, Cantor loss changes everything. And now it's deader than ever before. And it's likely that Cantor's loss means any hope for reform this year are extremely remote or non-existent. The story here, however, has always been that immigration reform's fate rests entirely on John Boehner. Either he allows it to move forward or he doesn't. Perhaps that's much harder now, but it was always going to be hard, and his fate was always going to turn on whether Boehner decided the upsides were worth the downsides. Much of the commentary says immigration reform is why Cantor lost. But others, such as Erickson, are downplaying its role. Yes, challenger David Brott, and high-profile conservative commentators attacked Cantor as soft on immigration. But as the Richmond Times-Dispatch's Jeff Shapiro explains, Cantor's maneuvering on immigration was illustrative of a larger issue, a perception within Republican circles that Cantor, in his determination to succeed John Boehner as Speaker, seemed more interested in positioning for the next phase of the nonstop news cycle than embracing a distinct agenda. Further, Cantor's South-styled young gun, who along with Paul Ryan, the 2012 vice presidential nominee, was a symbol of yuppie republicanism, became a distant figure to many of his Virginia constituents. Didn't recognize him anymore. Seen only on Sunday talk shows and in the pages of national newspapers. To the degree that immigration did matter to the outcome, and I don't claim to know one way or the other, the key point here is that Cantor wasn't actually an advocate of immigration reform in any meaningful sense. If anything, he was an obstacle to it. Remember, Cantor has received national attention for his efforts to make the party look more tolerant, only by trying to move behind the scenes for a vote only on legalizing the Dreamers. What that push really showed is how limited his efforts to make the GOP appear more inclusive really were. Only legalizing the Dreamers falls dramatically short of addressing the 11 million, which is what Boner says claims to want. Yet, even this was enough to get Cantor slaughtered on that issue. Indeed, Cantor's opponent was explicit on this point. He attacked Cantor by saying that once you let the Dreamers, once you let them in, that opens the door to more reform. What Cantor actually supported didn't really matter, as Shapiro explains. The mere sense that he was trying to make over the grand old party in the image of what Beltway media elites think is good for the party, in the image.
Okay, you're live.
Indeed, the scuttlebutt was held for weeks that Cantor had been trying to play both sides of immigration. Advocates believe he was telling the business guys that he was really with them on the issue, while simultaneously reassuring conservatives support to become the next speaker. But whatever Cantor's actual position on this issue really was, it's entirely irrelevant. Brott called Cantor's position amnesty. It's amnesty. And used this in part to fuel what Bill Kristol calls a broad assault on GOP elites who put the interests of American corporations over American workers, of DC lobbyists over American families. Meanwhile, conservative Republicans in the House are now claiming that Cantor really sucks. I mean, that Cantor really wanted comprehensive immigration reform and are citing his loss to put GOP leaders on notice that entertaining further thoughts on this issue will cause instant political self-immolation. All that matters here is whether GOP leaders accept this version of events. Now, there's a lot more to the story in terms of facts. And facts have a way of getting in the way of the truth. The fact is that nobody really paid attention to this person, and I think that's how the system operates sometimes. Their poster, Cantor's poster, had him leading by 30-some points the day before the election. Now, I can't really say whether or not an honest poll was taken or whether or not it was such a given, such a historical given, that the person with the most money that has the incumbency will prevail, because they know that politicians can stay in office for decades. So I'm not saying they did it, but the pollster might have just wrote him a polling result that was to justify the money he charges for the poll, and to make Cantor feel good. And so when the real results started coming in, all heck breaks loose. And then you're left to wonder, well, what happened? Well, let's start with the fact that there might not have been a real poll taken, that they misunderstood the will of the people and the attitude of what was going on. And you have to assume certain things, that maybe this is an isolated incident, or this is going to be a pattern, a metaphor, what's going to happen in future elections. Even this article here says that in the end, it does not appear that the individuals, exit polling says, to a degree that they even asked the question, that immigration was not that big of an issue even with the voters, but I'm not sure whether or not they polled the voters on that issue, because it's given that if you're from the southern part or a rural part of any state, that you're naturally going to be anti-immigration. But that may not necessarily be true, because people are so fed up. I mean, it's reflected in the outcomes of the people who actually go and vote. Now, typically, most congressional districts are divided up by population, although they're gerrymandered by lines that contort to the benefit of the party that's in power. In this case, it was Republicans. And so if that doesn't reflect a laziness when there is something going on, that the people are paid a lot of money to keep up with what's going on, when you see that hardly anybody votes, this district is supposed to have probably around 300,000 people. And I don't know what percentage of that is registered. But when only 30,000 votes are, of let's say 300,000, go, and it's only like 50% of the registered voters, go and can make this historical difference, that is a tremendous amount of power that a small group of committed, ideological zealots can have on what happens in America. I mean, this is a powerful event. It's like, who knows what the ramifications are going to be. Now, people are trying to use this, and again, 2020 hindsight, they're trying to speculate that, well, it must be immigration is dead. I think that most other polls taken from, I don't know if they're the same pollsters or other more reputable pollsters, say that immigration is something that's wanted by a majority of Americans, period. That the issue of gridlock in Washington is a lot more important to them than immigration. That the destruction of the middle class is much more important to them than immigration. And that the fact that big money in the form of an oligarchy has taken over our system of government. It's no longer a democracy, it's an oligarchy. Oh, an oligarchy. Well, what gives you that idea? Well, even if you take this little Cantor's destruction, the man had $5 million. $5 million in his war chest that he spent on his re-election. Brat, the guy who beat him, He barely got enough to buy bologna and cheese for his people. $200,000. And he whipped this guy so bad, that money does not make any difference in the end. And these people are in the process of taking their country back because they're just following the voting patterns that have been going on for years of how these midterm elections are historically low. That's fine. But when you're historically low, but they're voting for different issues, it's going to take a small number of people to upset the balance, the equilibrium, as they say, the political equilibrium. And now everybody is vulnerable, which is good. I think that's wonderful. If there's an anti-incumbency movement, which I personally believe there is, and I look at the fact that Lee Terry, the Nebraska congressman from the 2nd District, he eked out a 6-point victory over a nobody. A nobody. That should be concerned for, and I think it was because he was an incumbent. And people want change. I believe too that Deb Fischer, Senator Deb Fischer, was voted in. She slews other giants in the Republican Party. All the money that those other individuals had could not prevail against. And all it took was a few $100,000 from Pete Ricketts, or Ricketts' family, to get her over the hump. And guess what? We have Ricketts for governor. There's a little bit of juxtaposition here. When if you're looking to, at least ideologically, to change the outcome of elections because you believe that you're no longer represented by your representatives and that they pay more attention to big money. But then here in Nebraska, we got big money who wants to be the head of our government. The same guy whose family built a new campus out here in West Omaha and used TIF money, target increment financing, which is only designed to go for blighted areas. And he was able to get the city council to pay millions of dollars worth of TIF money because they designated that as areas that were poverty-ridden. He was able to designate that as an area of blight and got all that money, $1 million. Now, he's the same guy that's running for governor here in the state of Nebraska. He's worse than an incumbent. He is the person that pays for the lobbyists who lobby in favor of his company and gets that senator or that congressperson to vote the way they want to vote. And so this is a big deal. I don't know when this program will air. I'm going to try to put it on YouTube as soon as possible, but it will air on KPAO channel 22 at one time in the future. But this is a shot across the bow, and it's something that we have to take serious. And I think timing is just right for the Chicanos, the Latinos of this city, Omaha, and of Nebraska, to take and pay attention because the sleeping giant is about to wake up.